Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 177 for July the 26th, 2022. So let's get right into what I've been working on, shall we? And here we are. I have finished the first Christmas quilt. I say first because there might be another one or two before Christmas comes. And this one I call Christmas Stars. And I like the way it turned out. I think it worked out pretty well, although, as I said on an earlier video about this quilt, when I showed it to you in other stages, that the colors that I have used in this are not strictly Christmas, nor is the fabric. Although there is some Christmas fabric in it. There's Christmas fabric in the binding and in the red border, and in the little silver diamonds in the center, that's kind of Christmassy, and the sashing. But, you know, at first glance, you might not think this is a Christmas quilt. Of course, if you look at the quilting at it close up, and let's see if I can get you a close up of this. Here you go. You can see that I did the edge-to-edge poinsettia design, and it turned out pretty good. And I didn't really have any problems with that either. It went along quite smoothly. I had somebody ask me very recently how long it took to actually quilt this. It took me a day. Well, not maybe a full day, but it took me 5 or 6 hours to do this. So yeah, computerized quilting is not fast. So if you think that if you have like something like the quilt path like I do, and that it's going to be really fast, no. It's not, but you're not doing it. So everything comes out, well, pretty much perfect, as you can see here. So I'm pleased with the final result of this. And when it came to backing it, I did have a little bit of a problem. I didn't have any backing big enough. I like to do my backings as one piece. So I usually buy 108-inch backing, wide back. And I usually buy about 3 meters of that, and that will do a back for a quilt this size. However, I did not have anything in Christmas fabrics that big, and trying to find wide back fabric in Christmas designs, it's very limited, your selection, if you find it at all. So I decided I would piece the back, and I did. So this was basically fabric that I had left over from the quilt itself, plus a little extra in my stash. Now, there's one little problem with this. It's only the back. However, I measured the quilt and I put the pieces together, and originally it was just going to be minus this piece on the bottom, this horizontal piece. It was just going to be these strips across. Fine, no problem. And then I got it laid out on Lucy, and when I lay out my backing fabric on Lucy, before I lay down the batting, I will put the quilt top on top of it just to make sure I've left enough around all the top, the bottom, and the sides for the quilting. And for some reason, I trimmed down the pieced backing, and I trimmed it too short. So it meant I had to add a strip along the bottom and a strip along the top. And I did. No problem. Except when I put it on Lucy, I forgot that I need to center the quilt a little bit more. So there was a piece like down here, this horizontal piece. There was a matching horizontal piece that went along here at the top. But when I got Lucy on and wound it ahead and everything like that, well, that disappeared. So that's why the piecing looks like this. Now, that doesn't look bad. And you might even be able to make an argument that that looks like I did it intentionally. And to a certain point, I did. But no. So that's the one thing about every one of my quilts. There will be something unique in each one. I would like to say unique as opposed to a mistake. Okay, so yeah, this is a unique feature to this quilt, is the way I did the backing. You do see down here in the corner, I have one of my new labels. I made these labels while I went to Spoonflower and had a meter of fabric, a yard of fabric, I guess it's in yards on Spoonflower, and had them make a bunch of these up for me. And yeah, I think they're going to work out pretty good. again, though, what I tend to forget, and this is why I don't label my quilts sometimes, I forget to sew the quilt in when I'm doing the binding so that two sides of it will be already sewn in to the quilt. So I basically had to sew this myself. I did it on the machine, but what I did was, which is not the proper way, is I put it in close to the binding where the stitching was for that, and I just sewed it on two sides with that. So it's kind of blends into the binding and you really can't see it unless you're really looking for it on the other side, on the good side of the quilt, the stitching. And up here I just did sort of a little corner stitch kind of a thing, which again doesn't really show up on the front of the quilt. So there's a label in it. But yeah, I've got to rethink this. And I may have to rethink the how I make my labels as well, because I have seen people fold them in half on the diagonal. So there are absolutely no raw edges. And I'm not worried about these ones from Spoonflower because it's printed fabric and it's really good quality cotton, and it doesn't really fray. So this has been washed with the quilt on it once already, and there wasn't any fraying. So that's good, but it would be more secure if I was able to fold it on the diagonal. The only problem is the way I designed the size of the label is that if I fold it in half, you're going to lose some of the writing on it. However, there might be other things I can do about that to solve that problem. I don't know. We'll see. I just have to remember to put the label on it while I'm doing the binding. That would help. So I've started my next project. Now, this is supposed to be a Christmas quilt. This is the pattern I showed last week called Long Tall. And it sort of looks like a Bargello, or even if you look at it from a distance, a form of a log cabin. It is neither of those. It's just strip pieced. But these fabrics that were in the jelly roll, although they were marked as Christmas, they don't really look Christmassy. Wintry, yes. So I don't think I'm going to call this a Christmas quilt. I'm going to call it a winter quilt. And of course, my background fabrics I used, this was a line, they were toting it as Christmassy from Northcott from their O Canada series. But I don't know. The only thing Christmassy about it might be the color, the silvery color of it. Those are maple leaves. But I like it. I had enough of it, so I used it as the background. Now, I have to put the borders on this yet. There's a small inner border and then a larger outer border. And actually, as I'm making this video, I already have the inner border on. It's just that I don't have a picture of it yet to show you. And then I can throw it on Lucy and quilt it. However, this was a bit of a challenge. Now, this was a cozy quilt design. And cozy quilt designs, I have used their patterns for many of my quilts before. And the reason I like them so much is because their patterns are so well written. And this one was no exception. It was me. I swear I am geometrically challenged. When I was putting these panels together, these blocks, and they're fairly large blocks, as I'm laying them out, I'm getting them turned the wrong way, or I'm sewing some of the strips on the wrong side. So I had to do a lot of ripping out and resewing, and multiple times. And sometimes I would make the same mistake or a different one twice. So when I finally got this quilt all together, all the rows together, and I laid it out on the carpet like you see it there, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, there's something not quite right down in this bottom corner area down in here. And that's because I had this little piece right here from this strip over, to this side. I had it upside down. Now I almost left it because it wasn't that noticeable, but I knew it was there. So I ripped that piece out, turned it around, and sewed it back in. It wasn't a hard thing to do. It was just an annoying thing to do. And yeah, I've kind of had it with this quilt now. So anyways, it is the way it's supposed to be now, and I'm happy about that. And I think it's going to look pretty good once I get the borders on it and get it all quilted as well. But it's really not a Christmas quilt. If anything, it's a winter quilt. That's why I'm going to call it the winter quilt. So that's what I've been up to. And let's see what else. Well, on Saturday, Ultimate Sewing, we're having a garage sale. They're trying to make room for their Christmas and holiday fabrics, their Halloween fabrics, things like that. Um, was it a fantastic sale? Not really. Um, I bought a few things because I like to support Ultimate Sewing. And so I went through, they had a tent outside, or, a canopy kind of thing set up out in the parking lot. And they had some things in it. They had some sewing machines, and they had some fabric remnants and some pattern books and things like that. Uh, Basically, though, it was, I don't want to call it junk. It wasn't junk, but it's stuff, they wanted to get rid of. So I did buy a few things. You can see here I got 5 3-meter rolls of fabric. Now, these first 3 are batiks, and I love batiks, but they're 3 meters, and at $24 for 3 meters, that's $8 a meter. That's really good, okay? Because that's about half the price of what Shirley usually sells her uh, yardage for, or meterage for. And so, yeah, I picked those up because they won't come amiss. Now, the other 2 are both the same. So I have 6 meters of the same fabric, but I'm thinking these are backings. These are what I may use on future projects as backing. I'd still have to piece them, but they're a fairly long piece. So yeah, they'll work with that. So they're sitting in my Lucy room with my other backing fabrics. These bundles, she's had these in the store for quite a while. These half meter bundles, and there's 5 fabrics, half a meter each, and $45. That was the price she was selling them at, but they were on sale, hiccups, for 25% off, so it put them to about $27. So basically $27 works out to, well, I bought 2 packages, uh, 5 half meters. That's 5 meters in total then. Um, so yeah, it worked out to about, let's see, about the same as the other, about $8 a meter, something like that. They're batiks, so I picked up 2 of these, and yeah, just to have. I have nothing intended for them, but I just had them. And as I said, I want to support Shirley. Walter picked up a few things too. 3-meter rolls is good for him because that's what he usually buys to make a shirt. I think a shirt usually takes 2¼ to 2½ meters of fabric, but he likes to have a little extra, of course, because, so I always say, buy more than you need. Yes, you'll have some stuff left over for your stash, but if you make a mistake, yeah. And if you're like me, I make a lot of mistakes. So that's what we picked up. Now, I almost did this, but I didn't. There was a featherweight, a Singer featherweight for $500. It looked in excellent shape, and I know it was working fine and everything, and even came with its original travel or carry case with it as well. Somebody in the staff in the store said the travel case smelled like their grandmother. I don't know if their grandmother's still alive or not, because that would really change the scent, wouldn't it, one way or the other? But I didn't sniff it, but I thought about it. I don't need a featherweight, but everybody talks about featherweights. And after a while, you almost drink the Kool-Aid here, because, well, if everybody else is buying a featherweight, should I have a featherweight too? I didn't buy it. I thought the price was okay. Now, I mentioned this on Stephen and Walter Live, and one person said to me they thought that was way too much money, that you could get a featherweight for, you know, 300, or they got their featherweight for $350. Well, I'm sure, excuse me, I'm sure the price does vary depending on who's selling it and where you buy it. Somebody also wrote a comment on one of my videos saying that they could get one for $300 to $350 in California, but that's US dollars. And for some reason, people in the States seem to not understand about currency exchange. Canadian dollar is not the same as an American dollar. Somebody thought on, I think on Craft and Chat there a while ago, or something that we were on, um, that we were at par with the American dollar. No, we have not been at par with the American dollar in years. Wish we were, but we're not. We're about $1.30 for every American dollar. Costs us about $1.30. So $350 US for a featherweight works out to close to $500 Canadian. So Shirley's price was not out of the way when you look at it from that point of view. But I don't need a featherweight. It's just going to sit on a shelf and gather dust. So why? So no, I did not buy it. But I had the impulse. I really did. And it looked nice. It really did. It was in really great shape. It had been cleaned up. It looks like it had been taken care of over the years too, which might be another reason why the price was at $500, because it was in really excellent shape from what I could tell. I didn't turn it on. I didn't use it. It was electric. It had a motor with it, so it wasn't just a crank type. So, you know, a little newer in terms of featherweights size. I don't know. Looked like it probably came from the 1940s, maybe the 50s. I'm not sure. But nope, I did not buy it. Now, as I say that, in the back of my head, I have thought I could go in if Shirley still has it. She probably does. And say, would you take 400 for it or whatever? I don't know. I don't know. Uh, I don't need one. I really don't. In fact, I don't have anywhere to put it either, quite frankly. So, just one of those things, you know. Just because everybody else has one doesn't mean you have to too. Okay, so moving on, what other things happened last week? Well, we had the International Stitch Marathon. According to the main organizer, there was about 100 people that had popped in and popped out during the 12 hours. I didn't catch that. At the height, while I was on there, there seemed to be about 36, counting myself, counting the hosts as well. So I'm not sure where this 100 comes from. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I think it was very successful for the main organizer. I enjoyed myself there. In fact, the main organizer is thinking about doing one again in October or November, but I've already stated that unfortunately I can't be involved as a co-host because I'll be getting ready for my retreat, for one thing. And second of all, yeah, why all the co-hosts? I don't understand that either at all. I don't. Um, because we didn't do anything, you know, except advertise it on our YouTube channels, which is fine. I'd still advertise it, even though I'm not involved as a co-host. But really, no. And also, there were some people who told me that were my subscribers that they tried to get in and they couldn't get in. They weren't let in. Well, that was because it gets very confusing when you are running something like this. And if you have a lot of people coming on, you can miss when there's certain people in your, or some people in your waiting room for it. And so I guess that was missed. And I did not have, and I don't think any of the co-hosts had host permissions on the Zoom, which I had suggested that should be done so that we could take the weight off the shoulders of the main person and who was running it. But apparently that wasn't done, I guess, or if it was done, I tried it and it didn't seem to work for me. So I don't know, but growing pains, I suppose. So for the next one, you know, you always learn something from these and how to run them. But as I said, I won't be involved as a co-host on the next one whenever that occurs. I just don't have the time to put into that. And, you know, depending on my schedule, I may become just a participant in it. So anyways, I think the people that were there enjoyed themselves. They had a good time. And that's great. That was wonderful. Okay, so that takes me to a demo. I have put up a demo showing you how I set up the quilt path, which is the computerized software for my long arm, to do an edge-to-edge design. And actually the quilt that I have, you will see that I have on Lucy while I was doing this video, is the Christmas quilt, Christmas star quilt. I thought you might be interested in how that works. I have a lot to learn yet about Quilt Path, and in August, I do have a 3-day intensive course on using Quilt Path, which I'm really looking forward to because I know I have only touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what this program can do. So I have a little teaser for that video for you that I'm going to insert in here right now. It says Christmas, and I have 3 designs in there, and I want the one in the middle, which is the Christmas poinsettias. So I click on that, I go down here, click on open, and there, that's the whole quilt. Looks pretty busy, doesn't it? Well, that's because this is a very small rendition of the pattern. So what I want to do is see how close together each one of my rows is going to be. So I'm going to go up to the magnifying glass, and I'm going to go about 75%, blow it up, and you can see now, this is the whole zone and all of the pattern, but those are pretty close together, so I want to adjust those. So I'm going to go to size. So I hope you will check out that video, that tutorial. It's not really a tutorial, it's more of a demo about using Quilt Path. So that takes me to Subscribers Quilt of the Week, and this comes from, excuse me, frog in my throat. This comes from one of my subscribers who is a male quilter, Derek Scott, and he sent me pictures of his beautiful creations. This week's quilt of the week comes from a male quilter, which I'm always happy and pleased to present, since there's not as many of us as there are female quilters, and his name is Derek Scott. And Derek has sent me 2 pictures of a couple of works in progress, but they're coming along quite nicely. In this first one, he says, in terms of photographs of projects, I don't know if either of the attached might be of use. Both have yet to be finished, and I'm very much a beginner. Feel free to ignore if they are not suitable. I will not be offended. Well, as you can see, Derek, I am not ignoring these. I have been trying to use up jelly rolls in my stash. The multicolored one is a tulip pink jelly roll and was the first one I have ever had long arm quilted. I really like the star quilting pattern. It was quilted by the Cumbrian long arm quilter who Kate at the last Homely House visits in her videos. I think the pattern is one of Donna Jordan's. Well, I think that must be this one. I have the pictures out of order. So here is the quilt that Derek is talking about. And it's a really nice quilt, lovely colors. It looks like it's a string pieced, sort of foundation pieced pattern. May not be, but either way, it looks really, really nice. And the quilting is gorgeous on it. Your long arm quilter picked a really cool design for this quilt. Now the second quilt, he says, the green and white quilt top is just a Kona solid jelly roll of different greens with another plain bone colored jelly roll. Sewed that up in a day when it was raining and I was bored. I based it on a pattern using wider strips by John Cole Morgan, who was demonstrating on a craft YouTube channel called Natasha Makes. She also has a store. I still have to finalize the borders. My view is that plain solids sometimes don't get the attention they should. Solids can always create really beautiful projects, and lots of us have them in our stashes. And he says, well, this one, I am very guilty of never using solids. But after seeing this, it's got a very dramatic impact. So, you know, I might have to rethink my reasoning for why I don't use solids now that I have seen this. Derek finishes with, neither of them very ambitious or complex, but I have limited time in being able to use pre-cuts to generate beautiful things quickly gives me pleasure. Well, you know, Derek, you don't have to do complex designs to create beautiful quilts. And I think these two quilts prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt. So thank you, Derek, so much for sharing your creations with us. Now, for the YouTube channel of the week, I know there are some of you out there that are interested but haven't drank the Kool-Aid. That's twice I've said that today. For the Accuquilt system. Yes, it is a very expensive system to get into. However, as you know, I love mine, and I do not regret spending the money that I have on it, and there'll be more money to spend on it because there are other dies that I want for this as well. But or if you've been thinking about getting an Accuquilt, you might think what do you do with it? So you cut up pieces of fabric with it. And I'll have to say that one of the reasons why I bought an Accuquilt was for the strip dies, because cutting nice, accurate, long strips for your binding, for your borders and that, well, you know, it's a little bit more difficult than you would think trying to keep it straight, because if your fabric slips, your ruler slips, whatever, you can get a wow in your strip, and that's not good. And with the Accuquilt, they come out perfect every time. And so just that alone is what sold me on buying an Accuquilt. However, Accuquilt, you can make complete quilts using the Accuquilt system. And there is a large number of patterns to choose from. Most of them are free on the Accuquilt site. But one resource that I have found very helpful is one that's been on YouTube for years, and that's Eleanor Burns' Quilt in a Day. Now, when she was doing these videos before, and I'll say BA, before Accuquilt, she showed you, you know, she cut them all in the conventional way and all that kind of thing. But now she is an ambassador. I suspect she has more than just is just supporting Accuquilt. I have a feeling there is some money involved for her because she sells Accuquilt products as well. But she has now put most of her videos to using Accuquilt for making various types of quilts. And they are very, very good videos because she shows you how to use the dies in a very effective and efficient manner. So I would strongly suggest that you check these out. And here is one example of what I'm talking about. If you're interested in all the different things you can do with an Accuquilt cutting system, but you don't want to really invest the money yet until you're sure this is something you will really get use out of, then you might want to check out Quilt in a Day's YouTube channel for their videos on using the Accuquilt to create various projects. This one is a fairly recent one, just put out about a week or so ago, and it's about doing something called the Tangled Star. Now, yes, it does use specific dies for this, but if you watch this, you'll get a very clear idea how you can use your Accuquilt to create what seem to be very complicated patterns very easily. I find Quilt in a Day videos to be very entertaining. They're with Eleanor Burns, of course, the goddess of quilting. And she has now become the goddess of Accuquilt because she is an ambassador for them. And many of her latest videos focus upon using the Accuquilt system for doing quilts, table runners, wall hangings, whatever. So this will give you a feel for how the system works. And if you're on the fence about whether or not you should buy one, then I suggest you watch a couple of these videos in the series, and that will give you a clearer idea as to whether or not you want to invest in an Accuquilt system. So after you've seen a couple of those Accuquilt YouTube presentations done by Eleanor Burns, this might help you make up your mind whether or not you want to invest in the system. Okay, so that takes me to projects on my vision board. And this one is a Christmas themed one. I may make this, I may not make it. It has flying geese in it. I love flying geese. I don't know why, but I do love making flying geese. And this is called the Mini Christmas Geese, and it's by Sherri McConnell. And I'm sure you know who Sherri McConnell is. She has her own YouTube channel called Quilting Life. She also designs fabric. She has fabric lines, and she and her daughter design those and patterns. And I've done some of her patterns before. And she has a new book out, Home for the Holidays, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. And actually, that Christmas Star quilt comes from that book as well, the pattern. So this was a freebie. And well, here's what I'm talking about. This week's pattern for my vision board, yes, has to do with Christmas, but I found this free pattern on A Quilting Life by Sherri McConnell, and it's called Mini Christmas Geese. And it looks fairly simple to do and would be fairly quick because, just as the pattern suggests, it is all done with mini flying geese. But if you've never done flying geese before, there is a tutorial for this, and just let me find this for you here. And here we go. And this can be found, I have the link to this down in the show notes. And she takes you through it step by step with lots of visual prompts as well. It's very easy. I have not made this yet, but I'm planning to. I think it would make a really neat little table topper, or you could combine a series of these to make a table runner, although within this set of instructions, she does have information on making a table runner as well, a little different style. You see here she's has it on a hanger, which would be nice for a little display at Christmas time. And actually, you know, this doesn't have to be Christmas. You could make this a fall table piece or hanger, whatever you like. Just change out the colors. Might even, you could probably use some of your Halloween fabrics well. That gives me an idea. So it's a very versatile pattern, very simple, very quick, very easy, and very clear instructions. So I suggest that you go over to aquiltinglife.com and check out this and other freebies that she has on her page. So this would be the time when I would give you a little teaser about my latest interview. Well, I don't have any interviews. I've run out again. So I put out the call. If there is somebody you think I should interview, and it's really great if you have some contact information. Remember, I don't want to do the big names in the quilting community, the Angela Walters, the Jenny Dones, the Donna Jordans, all of those ones out there, because everybody knows them. I'm looking for the average creator who may or may not, they don't have to have a YouTube channel, and who's somebody who, you know, you think we can learn something from. So send me the information about that, or maybe you yourself would like to be interviewed. Everybody has a unique story, and I love interviewing my own subscribers as well. So you've heard me say it many, many times before. Don't be shy. I'd be more than happy to interview you. And speaking of interviews, I am being interviewed. Yes, I've done all these interviews and no one's interviewed me. So Sean from The Guy Who Sews YouTube channel, who I interviewed back a month ago or so, he has approached me and he would like to interview me, and we're doing it this Saturday morning coming up. So that's going to be great. And I'm not sure how he will do this. He does his interviews. I won't be his first interview. He's done other interviews before, and it looks like he uses Zoom. But I'm not sure if they're actually live through YouTube when he does them, or it's a rebroadcast. I'm not sure what his technology is, and I'll have to find out from him. If he actually is doing a live interview using Zoom and it's through YouTube, I'd like to know how to do that, because that's something I don't know how to do. But anyways, yeah, I'm flattered that Sean wants to interview me. So watch for that interview. Whether it'll be just live, I think he'll have a rebroadcast of it as well. And it's my turn to be a little bit nervous. I don't know what he's going to ask me. So the shoe's on the other foot. Okay, so that takes me to the online quilt store for the week, and this one is called Quilt Generations. This week's online quilt store is called Quilt Generations, and they are located in Alberta, and they are strictly an online store, as they say. And in their opening blurb on their homepage, they say we specialize in kits and carry over 300 bolts of fabric along with notions, patterns, and tools from all the top name suppliers. So let's just take a quick look at what they have to offer on their front page. So they have kits, block of the month, fabrics, patterns, notions, pre-cuts, and panels, and clearance. Looks like they deal with Trendtex fabrics. They have a link to those. I've seen that kind of thing in other websites as well. A featured product, BCS Mystery Quilt Club. So they have a quilt club, and then they have a list of their new arrivals, many of which seem to be patterns. But let's jump right into fabric and see what they have to offer and how it's organized and what it costs. So they don't look like they have a sidebar telling you manufacturers. They do have a filter though, and there's 201 products, they say. Black, blue, brown, clearance. Okay, so they have novelty. So everything's by color, not or by type. It's not really by manufacturer designer. Let's click on cotton fabric and see what we have here. Okay, they've got a lot of jelly rolls, some pre-cuts, and then they have yardage. Now their prices seem to fluctuate between $12 and up to about $18. So let's just take a look and see if that's per meter or yard. Okay, I'm assuming the way this is set up, it's a very bare bones, minimalist type of web page, which there's nothing wrong with that. So you can add it to the cart. I guess that $16 probably is a by meter or yard. Let's check their shipping information, shall we? They charge a flat rate on all orders for within Canada and are shipped via Canada Post within 48 hours. International orders or bulk items do not follow the below rates. Do not follow the below rates. Actual shipping amounts will be charged for those items. Orders of up to $100 is $9 shipping. Orders between $100 and $200 is $15 shipping. Of course, this is all in Canadian dollars, and this is shipping within Canada. If you have over $200, you get free shipping. Okay, shipping is not expensive. I think it's fair. Let's go back again, and let's just add this to the cart just to make sure. Yeah, it's still not telling me whether or not that's for a meter. I would assume it would be because that would make it $32 a meter if that was a half meter. So yeah, and there doesn't seem to be, oh, okay, here's an indication. It says, make sure you check out our new clearance section, fabrics as low as $5 per meter. So I guess everything is in meters. Okay, so let's check out their kits and see what they have here to offer. Hinterland, they have some tote bag clips or kits, table runners, a tuffet. Okay, few different kits here. Prices are about average, I think, for kits. Because these are including, I'm assuming these are including the fabric. Probably just the piecing fabric, probably not binding and backing, because most do not. Okay, so there's a few things here that are kind of interesting. These are interesting. Let's just take a closer look. Each section is individually bagged and labeled, can also be done as a block of the month. Okay, so it does look like a fairly complex pattern. So, okay. So there's a fair amount to choose from here. So let's go back. Let's check out their block of the month. Oh, that one is a block of the month, so $30. So I'm assuming that's just for the patterns. So they have about 3. Okay. This is interesting, but I don't know if it'd be grabbing me enough to actually buy the kit or a block of the month, but that's okay. Let's go back to, oh, okay, all products. Okay, what did that take me to? 13 pages of stuff. Okay, I think we're better to go back here and go back down to their categories. Let's check patterns. Oh, here, kitty, kitty. That's kind of nice. It's kind of cute. But anything with cats on it too. Cats and stars and butterflies always get me. Uh, yeah, well, these are patterns. Ooh, Norman Nanette. Look like little gnome things. That's kind of cute. I haven't seen that one. $32. Hmm. Is that a kit? They don't really give much of a description, like none at all. So it just says part pattern here. So that's an expensive pattern. Yeah. Um, okay, but they do have a fairly good selection of patterns by the looks of things. It says here there's 71 products, so that's okay. So let's go back again to the home page. Navigating this is fairly easy. It's maybe not as indexed as well as some other websites we have seen, but still very manageable. I don't have a problem with it. Notions, probably the standard kind of thing. Yeah, rotary cutters, pins, seam rippers, wool mats, irons. Okay. Not a lot. They don't have a lot of rulers. Two is about it. Okay. Again, we'll go back onto the home page and select another category. Pre-cuts and panels. Well, let's check out their pre-cuts because I love pre-cuts. Jelly rolls. Yeah, none of their jelly rolls are my aesthetic, looking at it quickly, but that doesn't mean they're not for other people. Some charm packs. Not a huge selection of panels or pre-cuts. 19 products, it says. Okay. And let's see, check out their clearance. Okay, well, I like that. Well, there's some stuff here that I would be interested in. 4 pages of these. Let's just go to the second page and take a look. Okay, well, worth the look. There might be something here that you would find interesting and like to purchase. Okay, so there's something here about us. As they're in Calgary. They don't have a storefront, we know that. My partner, aka my mother, and I both started quilting about 15 years ago after my two aunts told us how much we would love it. At the same time, we both very much had our doubts. And blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they're a mother-daughter team on here, and it's an online store. Their selection, they have some things. It's not a huge selection of products, but the price for the fabric doesn't seem bad, and the shipping seems pretty good as well. So you might find something here that you would like. So check out Quilt Generation, or yeah, Quilt Generations. So that brings me to almost the end of this episode of the Idiot Quilter, but a couple of things I would like to tell you about, make you aware of. This weekend coming up is a long weekend here in Canada for most of the provinces. It's the civic holiday weekend, and that means August has begun this weekend. Actually, next Monday is August the 1st. That means the first Wednesday is August the 3rd. That's next week. That means it's time for Craft and Chat again. Yay! I love Craft and Chat. I hope you do too. So you will find in the show notes below the link for Craft and Chat for August the 3rd, which is 1 week from this Wednesday as I record this, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's an opportunity, as you know, most of you know this already, for you to work on whatever you want to work on. Quilting, sewing, crocheting, knitting, paper crafts, painting, art journaling, under drawer reorganization, whatever grabs you. Okay, whatever floats your boat, as they say. So that's August the 3rd. Those of you that are on my mailing list for it, you will get a reminder about this near the end of this week in your email box. So yeah, Craft and Chat's coming up. I do have a plan to do an extensive interview and tour of Kawartha Quilting and the owner of Kawartha Quilting. And we have been in negotiations for this. And it looks like we'll probably be doing it in sometime in August. But I just tell you now because many of you have asked me to show pictures or do a little video showing Kawartha Quilting. And so I will be. Just be patient. It'll come out sometime probably next month. And speaking of what's coming up in an advance advance notice. Warning sounds bad, doesn't it? The Idiot Quilter Fall Retreat. Yes, I have finalized my 3 speakers. And so that means I have finalized the date. And the date is going to be Saturday, October the 22nd, 2022. It will start at 8 a.m. in the morning and run until approximately 5 p.m. in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. There'll be more details about all of this, how you sign up, how it works, and everything. That will be coming out probably about mid-September. So I just give you advance notice of it now so you can look ahead in your calendar and hopefully you'll be able to make this work into your schedule. So yeah, more about that to come. Stay tuned. And that's it for me this week. So I hope you have a great week. Sew something for yourself. If you have air conditioning, great. If the heat's still on in your house with your air conditioning, sewing, what could be better than that, really? Or take your sewing machine outside. Yeah, I keep thinking about doing that. Haven't done it yet. So anyways, I hope you have a great week and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.